Right. Shall we chat about our
Shall we talk about the last 4 months of comics?
yeah,
3 months comics
absolutely.
almost.
Um
Yeah, big, big lot of comics to talk about here. I mean, we've even broken down our totals just to show that we were doing the work behind the scenes with every intention of doing a monthly show. It just never quite happened. But we know people love to see how many titles we read, how ridiculous our numbers are at time, despite the fact we try to trim them and trim them. But yeah, we've broken it down April, May, June, July, as we always do, how many issues that month, and then broken into DC, Marvel, and Indie. So
and if I recall, April was a 5 week month. July was 5 weeks, was it?
July
Uh,
was a 5 week month as well,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
because
And
it
then May
ended
and
with
June
some one shots and
were
stuff.
both 4 weeks. So let's go. How were you in April?
April, I had a really interesting April actually. Look at all those Marvel titles.
Absolutely.
101 titles read. I should clarify that when I did my totals, I don't know if you do the same or not, although I know you don't. Well, you always read an omnibus, I suppose, but you don't read an awful lot outside of your pull list. But I remember in April, I read loads of like Marvel mini series and stuff. Like
Yeah,
I read a
yeah.
20 issue Punisher run, and I read
Uh-huh.
a 6 issue Black Widow run and stuff like
So
that.
is that where
So
your 47 Marvel came from?
that's where it's
Oh,
come from,
okay.
yeah. Because,
All right.
I know you were feeling slightly insecure that I had so many more Marvel than you,
No, no,
but
no, not at all. No, no, I was very proud of you. Very proud of you.
but yeah, April 101 titles read or individual titles read, 24 DC, 47 Marvel, and 30 indie books.
Yeah, I've got a little behind, certainly the last sort of 6 weeks on my pull list, but I read everything I buy before I move on and read the
Yeah.
next thing, the next week or whatever else. So mine are all read as well. I had three less than you that month, 98 titles in total, 26 DC, so a couple more DC than you, weirdly. 38 Marvel, and 34 indie. So that was a big month for me.
Yeah, big
Um,
month, as you say. That's a 5 week month, which is why it is
yeah,
so big. But you
absolutely.
can sort of see our aims in the next couple of months are a bit more in line with what we've been
Yeah, yeah,
going
yeah,
for.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
May 4 week month had 80 titles in total.
Yeah,
Back
yeah.
to DC being more than Marvel for me. 27 DC, 20 Marvel, and 33 indie.
So Indy taking the top spot there. I had six more titles than you overall that month. In May, I had 86 titles in total. 22 of those were DC, bringing up the rear. 37 were Marvel, right on top, and 27 just right in the middle there were Indie. I also got a DC Compact Edition. I think was that Batwoman Elegy? Was that the
Elegy,
breaker?
Greg Rucka,
Could have
H.
been.
Williams III.
I had one indie hardcover, and for the life of me, I can't remember what that was. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. And that was also free comic book month. So there was about nine free comic book issues. What was that indie hardcover? I can't remember.
While you think about that, I'll jump into June
Absolutely.
totals. Another 4 week month, but the titles did go up a little bit here. So 91 in total for June. So 30 DC, 25 Marvel, and 36 Indie. So that's a pretty sort of nicely split month for me with that one. So 30 DC, 25 Marvel, and 36 Indie.
You were a little ahead of me there. I was 87 titles overall, 22 DC, again bringing up the rear, Marvel on top with 35, and Indie down the middle with 30. That was the month that Andy was kind enough to find and gift me the free comic book day issue of the Phantom. So that was very nice of him. I got one Marvel Premier Edition that month. That was the Fantastic Four, Jonathan Hickman Solve Everything. And I picked up two DC Compact editions that month as
Superman
well.
Birthright comes to mind possibly for
Yes,
that.
and can't can't remember.
Kingdom
Uh,
Come.
Kingdom Come, that was the one. Well done, good work.
Kingdom Come,
Um,
which is now out of print, so hold on to it.
okay, right. So those things are going out of print already. That's
They're
mad.
they're they're just going through their stash, and then it's a case of obviously they have to do new print runs. I mean, as a slight segue here on Saturday, we obviously have a display in store for the compacts, and it can house maybe I want to say about 50, maybe 55 individual books.
Uh-huh.
And by the end of the day on Saturday, I had 16 books left. It was crazy. Those compacts. genuinely one of the best things DC have ever done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That
Totally agree.
£9
Totally
price
agree.
point, quality of titles, and they're very committed to it as well, which is great to see, and plenty of new ones coming out. And then we
Very
finish
cool.
off the 4 months worth with July totals, and again we jumped into a 5 week month, so again the numbers went up, and we both broke triple digits. 108 for myself, and a nice even split here, relatively even split, which is 30-40 C. 30 Marvel and Indie taking the top spot again with 44 indie books.
That hardcover, and how could I forget, was Lazarus
Book
hardcover volume
four.
4. Yeah, absolutely. Um,
See, kids, for those who don't know, Keith has his pull list from the last 15 years, maybe, on his phone. A minimum of the last 15 years. I
Actually,
might
I'm
even go
using
further
what
back.
I'm using is my CLZ. Because it tells you when you scan things in. So your July was 108.
Yeah.
My July was 115. So just a little bit ahead of you. I think if we were to take these totals, we would probably be neck and neck, more or
Yeah.
less, over the 4 months. I had 28 DC, bringing up the rear again. 39 Marvel, in the middle this time, and 48 Indie
Hmm.
in the month of July. So very
Was that
much
your
on
Never
top.
Wars month?
That was my Never Wars month, absolutely. I also picked up a DC hardcover that was Hellblazer by Jamie Delano, Volume 2, and one DC compact, which was the New Frontier.
New Frontier.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in terms of Omnis, I picked up that Hellblazer one, also the Delano, but I picked up the Tom Taylor Nightwing one.
Lovely.
Even
So
though I have a list.
you've picked up the two Delano, have you?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
lovely. Brilliant. Good stuff.
But I'm sort of reading them in a weird order because I've been reading Ennis's one first.
All right, okay.
So I've got, when it comes to Hellblazer, I've got the Ennis Omnibus, I've got the two Delanos, and then we talked about it in previews before. Paul Jenkins has one coming soon, so you'll start to see the entirety of Hellblazer essentially covered by omnibuses.
Mm.
But yeah, obviously that's a massive 4 month period. You know that we'll probably go into plenty of detail here if you're tuning into us, we like to talk about these things. But obviously, 4 months is a big sort of length of time to cover. I mean, we've tried to sort of break it down into, major titles that started in that period, titles that finished, which may then be hitting sort of collected editions and trade paperbacks and so forth soon. And then we'll have a wee bit of a chat about sort of what stood out the most for us from that time. So, I mean, when it comes to Marvel, undoubtedly lots of big things with Marvel were happening at that time, including a certain web slinger going surprisingly back to number one
Yeah,
again.
that was again. I mean, and Jesus, number ones, Marvel and number ones, it just it's such a pain in the butt. It really is. I can understand why they do it. It's all about sales, and that, but it was just, same again, but the preview pages for that Amazing Spider-Man number one looked fantastic. Pepe Larraz, if I'm
Hmm.
right, with Joe Kelly writing. And I mean, the gorgeous art kept me going for maybe 3 or 4 issues in that. It's released every 2 weeks, I think. The first issue was gorgeous. It was a chunky issue. Had a great great fight with Rhino at the very very start. We have Peter having his usual problems, his usual relationship problems. He's got an on again off again girlfriend who is seemingly way too good for him, and she's not willing to commit if he's not willing to commit, sort of thing. So they have this sort of open relationship, which is, I suppose, a pretty adult thing for a Spider-Man comic book. But it gets into this investigation as to, Rhino drops with a heart attack, and Peter's, trying to resuscitate him through all that armor and so forth and so on. So why did Rhino have this heart attack? Is the question. In that sense, Peter into an investigation. He does quickly. He's got a new job in a lab alongside his old buddy. We're seeing some flashbacks to this new character and how that character was part of his childhood. And maybe took young Peter off the rails a wee bit at that time when he was growing up. We're seeing a side of young Peter. We haven't, this is we're seeing him growing up with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and we haven't really seen an awful lot of that at times. So this is cool actually to see Peter Parker growing up as a realistic child, as an early
Yeah,
preteen
gets into
kind of
trouble from time to
getting into
time,
trouble and that sort of thing.
easily
Not
led.
Yeah, not the goody two shoes, wanting to be popular, wanting to be, when he's a nerd, that sort of thing. So, and it leads into, you know, an investigation and hobgoblin and that. But I'll tell you what, you see around sort of end of May, end of June, July, that series really started picking up. It really started finding its feet. And I think about issue 6 or issue 7, I was going, oh my God, Spider-Man is back. This is
Is that when
great.
you're
This
getting
is,
into the Hellgate stuff?
yeah, the Hellgate stuff, and maybe even a wee bit before that. It was just really cool stuff. They're really sort of defining the character, using the character, giving the character some love. We have Black Cat in there as well, and yeah, that Hellgate stuff. Kind of love the Norman Osborn being his biggest fan, his guy in the chair sort of thing. It's really cool stuff, and Spider-Man's always been about the relationships with the people around him, and Joe Kelly's really doing that as well as the frenetic action of Spider-Man, and getting the crap kicked out of him sometimes. It's just great stuff. Great stuff. Loving Spider-Man at the minute.
And I absolutely loved the fact that they brought in a Seinfeld reference in the first issue because when Peter was doing his investigation, he goes into an apartment and the artist has clearly drawn Jerry's apartment from Seinfeld,
Yeah, yeah,
which I
that's
rather
right.
enjoyed.
Yeah, and
I
it's
mean,
it's yeah, and I think Kelly is so we've had a lot of Spider-Man fandom, and we know how toxic comic fandom can be, especially around those kinds of characters. There's been a lot of talk of is Peter Parker ever going to grow up? Is he in this state of constant childhood nearly, or
yeah.
and this seems to be Joe Kelly seems to be definitely growing him up a little bit. He's got these complex relationships. He's got Black Cat coming back, and there's always been a real attraction there. I mean, what those people really want is Peter back with Mary Jane. I don't care. I can see that far enough away as long as he's a realistic character.
And then, of
You
course, as
know.
soon as he gets back with Mary Jane, they'll be like, "Oh, this is so boring. They're
Yeah,
back together,"
exactly. Yeah,
you know.
100%. So yeah, it's just good to see Spider-Man, Peter as a more complex character. It's good to see him moving forward. You'll never get rid of the Parker look. That's just a given. That's part of the character. And see Spider-Man being the flagship superhero of the Marvel universe that he is. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean that was obviously a big number one for Marvel in this period. Another one was Fantastic Four number one. It went back to number one in July, obviously.
Yeah,
Now with it, at least there was a bit of synergy there. It was in a case of, Fantastic Four movie comes out. They did a little prequel comic, Fantastic Four First Steps, which
yeah,
was very,
which was
very
great. Yeah,
popular.
yeah. It was
And
very much set in that movie universe.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they obviously relaunched Fantastic Four number one. But what Marvel did here is has become a slightly popular trick for them recently as well, where it'll keep a creative team or at the very least keep a writer, and continue on a story that they were already telling, or at least a sort of a consistency with what they were telling. But they'll renumber it back to one. So they did it with Moon Knight, Moon Knight, Vengeance on Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu, etc., etc. They did it with She Hulk, Sensational She Hulk. But with Fantastic Four, they did it, and they didn't even throw in a subtitle. It just went Fantastic Four. But Rand North continued on it, and
Yeah, which is
Humberto
always good to see.
Ramos.
Yeah.
Humberto Ramos got brought in as the artist,
Yeah.
and I must be honest, I wasn't really reading the run before, but I've jumped on this one, and I read issue 2 today actually,
Mm.
and I think it's off
Further
to
on
a
than I
very
am.
strong start.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah, we
was, it
got
was, yeah. I mean, it was a really, but I mean, Ryan North's fantastic previous volume of Fantastic Four was really strong as well.
yeah.
And I just thought it was really weird how they relaunched Fantastic Four whenever we're in the middle of One World Under Doom, as over or underwhelming as that may be. Uh, Events are a whole nother conversation, but you know, Doom, Fantastic Four. Doom is their arch nemesis, and we're relaunching their book, halfway through that thing that they should be very much of a part of. And
hmm
if there's one book that should be a tie-in to One World Under Doom, it should be Fantastic Four. But now the current run is kind of nothing to do with that anymore at all, really. I think did he
Well, it is by issue 2. I'll tell you that much.
okay, all right, that's good.
I
That's
know
good to
you're
hear.
obviously
Just
a little bit behind, but yeah, no, I
it's
sort of thought the same thing because the first issue. Fantastic Four battling Doom, and he basically sends them through like a portal, and they
Mm.
end up in four different time frames,
That's
and they're
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
that's
find the
right.
Infinity
Yeah,
Stone
yeah.
so that
It's
they
not
know
the
where
it's not
everybody is. Or not the Infinity Stone. What's it
the
called? It's
I can't remember what it's called, but it's
it's
not.
Infinity something though, I think.
It's yeah.
Something
We'll
Stone. I
figure
don't
it
know.
out. Yeah, but it's a
And
cool
it
idea. The idea of this rock that has been there
might be
for
the Infinity Rock.
could be throughout history, and that they know it's there.
Yeah.
Reed knows that's there, and their plan is, should they ever get separated, uh, temporally, that they will all find the rock and put a message on it. I thought that was just class. That was a great concept. So it was for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so and they're all separated in that first issue, but the second issue sort of figures it out relatively quickly. And then Doom is brought into it again in a certain way, and it is still obviously Emperor Doom and all the
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
Homeworld under Doom and
cool.
stuff. So yeah, I mean there's good consistency there. I've listened to one or two podcasts with Rand North on it recently, and he just seems like an interesting guy as well. So
Yeah, yeah, and he
um
clearly loves the Fantastic Four. The usual toxic corners of Comic Doom have been complaining that, in the first issue, Sue is introduced as the leader, but I've always felt like, the leadership of the Fantastic Four could rotate.
yeah,
Uh,
fluctuates.
yeah,
It's fluid.
absolutely.
It's like
Yeah,
water. Be like
100,
water.
be like water, my friend. Um, but yeah, Sue is and always has been one of the probably the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four in terms of what she can do with her powers. So yeah, I'm happy to see her lead the team, and of course, as soon as they get separated, she's like, Jesus, I'm in charge of the team for like 10 minutes, and suddenly we're split across time. But yeah, it was very very cool first issue, very cool first issue.
Yeah, but it's interesting the two sort of different routes the big two are taking at the moment because obviously with Spider-Man going back to number one and the idea being Fantastic Four going back to number one, DC did this thing called the Summer of Superman, and
Yeah.
obviously this some of this was coming off the All In initiative recently. They did this one shot called Summer of Superman, which had three individual stories in it, which were
Hmm.
then going to lead to three individual titles. And Mark Waid's pretty much spearheading all of this. Mark Waid is like the biggest Superman fan in the world. He's currently writing Action Comics. Joshua Williamson, I believe, is writing Superman. And then Dan Slott is writing Superman Unlimited. So these are the three titles that came out of the Summer Superman one shot. But it is interesting how the two companies are approaching it in different ways. DC are like, well, Action Comics, this kicks off at 1077, and Superman, it kicks off at issue 26. And, so they're relying almost on retailers to convey that information instead of just having that visual of number one, number one, number one. But you do still have Superman Unlimited number one, but that was a brand new series. But yeah, the whole idea of the sort of trilogy of Superman almost is that one title is the past, one is the present, one is the future.
Mm.
And Action Comics obviously going back to when he's Superboy. It's that awkward age where the Kents are sort of saying, right, we'll agree to explore your powers at this age, but then they
Hmm.
sort of manifest themselves a
Yeah,
year
yeah,
earlier
yeah.
before they're ready. Superman Unlimited is the present, and then Superman is sort of set within the future and so
And
forth.
that
So
that I mean that run on Superman Unlimited, that the conceit at the minute is that this huge kryptonite meteor has, obviously Superman stopped it, most of it striking Earth, but a lot of it has landed in this country, and this country is now exploiting the kryptonite.
mhm.
So kryptonite is now much more common on Earth than it was before, and what that means for Kryptonians living on Earth is really cool.
Yeah,
So
much
yeah,
much more common and readily available.
yeah,
It kicked off that series with that great visual of Superman trying to stop just, two run of the mill goons from robbing somewhere and they shoot at him and he's like,
it's
first
kryptonite.
time, boys. And then, oh wait, hold
Oh
on.
yeah,
That's actually piercement.
absolutely.
So, but
Yeah,
it also the unlimited part comes, Superman can actually manifest powers that,
new
make
powers.
him
Yeah,
invincible but for a short space of time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that book's really, really enjoyable. Dan Slott, as I say, writing it. It's Raphael Albuquerque on art.
Mm,
Superman has Dan Mora on art. And then
hmm.
Action Comics is that John Timms
Yes, I think
on art.
so. Yeah. So,
So,
so whenever you say the core Superman, or the adjectiveless Superman, by Joshua Williamson, is the future. What
yeah,
do
it
you mean?
was
I
it
mean, I'm reading
was
it as well, but
it was
it
something I was
is.
listening to. Mark Waid was talking about that was the idea that, you have three instead of trying to always have a through line if you have three concurrent books,
Uh-huh.
it was setting them in different
Right.
time frames. So you wouldn't be like, well, he did this in Action Comics. Why does this not relate to Superman, sort of
Mm,
thing? So I think that was the idea behind it anyway.
I mean,
But yeah, I mean
I'm
it's
enjoying all of them. I'm really enjoying all of them. I'm loving the Superboy stuff. I'm loving the Superman Unlimited stuff, and yeah, the Superman book I've been on for a while. Joshua Williams is doing a great job. It's sort of we had the sort of main protagonist for a wee while has been the Time Trapper, who is the most evolved version of Doomsday.
hmm
How Doomsday, whenever he's killed, he can re-evolve in order to take account of what killed him. And a wee bit like Resurrection Man, actually, in that
hmm
respect. So by this time, he has control over reality and time travel. It's very very cool. And then we've got the fallout from Lex losing his memory and now being back, and the Metropolis and Supercorp stuff. Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's I think it's the first time Superman has three ongoing titles in something like 20 years at DC. So I mean they've really went big with Superman recently, obviously with the movie as of course as well, and treating them with that this respect in the comics. Classic runs are getting reprinted in hardcovers and soft covers. There's a lot of the DC compact books are Superman related, whether it's Birthright or it's All Star Superman or it's Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, etc. So no, DC's really going big on Superman. They're DC are accused at times of just relying on Batman to sell every book they have. But there's also another Superman book that started this week called Kryptonite Spectrum from the Ice Cream Man team. So it's nice to see them taking big swings on Superman again. I mean, obviously the original of them all. So yeah, it's nice to see DC doing that, and customers are responding. I mean, we have as many people in Action Comics as we do in Detective Comics, and it's the first time we could say that for a while. So yeah,
Absolutely,
people
it's good to
people are
see.
enjoying it.
Worth mentioning the Treasury Edition at this point.
Also, yeah, you had the Treasury
Yeah, it
Edition,
was
of course, which was
fantastic.
Bruno Redondo on art, just on his own sells that book. It's a massive size book. The reason Keith says Treasury is
Huge.
because that's the format for it. So Treasury books are something that they used to do in the past, and awful, they used to do in like the 60s and 70s and 80s, and they were massive oversized copies. They're the kind of thing that I'm genuinely surprised Keith went for, because where he is going to store that, I have no idea. But Big Blue got him, and Bruno Redondo art got him, and yeah, that
I
was a
mean, yeah,
very, very enjoyable book.
that was it. Dan Jurgens on writing as well,
Yeah,
always good to
classic
see.
Superman.
So it was the overall thing was called Hero for All. And it was just, yeah, it was really well put together. As you say, I mean, I bought it for the Bruno Redondo art, but that story of he's up in the starts with the Daily Planet, and he's up there, and he's more or less, his mom and dad are up there, and he's more or less going, right, go, I need to go, a thing has happened. And it's about that it's an alien invasion
Yeah,
scenario, and it just totally captures the spirit of Superman. And it's a hugely scoped
yeah, the
book.
scale of it's massive.
Yeah, and the scale of it, both in the story and in the format, is massive. It looks into his character. It shows you why Superman is the preeminent hero of the DCU. He is the hope. He is the leader. He is the rallying cry for all the other heroes in the DCU. It's just very very cool as this armada of extraterrestrials just launches this all out invasion on Earth, and only Superman can be the barrier between Earth and total annihilation. Is just cool. It's just cool. Deserve to be told in a book like that. So yeah,
Yeah, just let Bruno Redondo draw all of the DC universe, please.
yeah, and yeah, yeah, I'll draw everything. Yeah, absolutely. So good to see, and I was really glad whenever you got Treasury sized bags in.
Yeah, well, you know me, I don't like to put out anything without a bag or a bag and board
Yeah,
at the very least.
100%.
So yeah, treasury bags were a must for that as well.
Big
But
style.
yeah, there was loads of big things started over these few months. I mean, Marvel have continued with their commitment to doing lots of stuff with the likes of Aliens and Predator. Aliens had a series throughout these months called Alien Paradiso. It hit trade this week actually,
Yeah,
in
it
store.
finished in April, didn't it? I think
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
pretty cool. And also they had Aliens, Avengers versus
Aliens
Aliens.
Avengers, yeah, which
Uh,
finished off
Hickman, it
Jonathan
was
Hickman and Esad Ribic.
yeah, it was really enjoyable. I mean, Esad Ribic and art, you're going to pick that up anyway. But it
Yeah.
was kind of an enjoyable take. Fucking Sinister with his face hugger gun was hilarious.
Hmm.
Um, but in terms of like the highlight really of that stuff, even over and above, Avengers versus Aliens was a funny wee story, as in like it wasn't really linked to anything. It was set in the future. Its reality was somewhere between Marvel and the Alien universe sort of thing. But Predator versus Spider-Man has been brilliant. It started in April or May, and it just evokes the feeling of Predator 2. You know, it's New
Concrete
York,
Jungle.
yeah,
Yeah.
concrete jungle. It's hot. It's hotter than it's been. And there's this one predator sort of on the hunt, and he's this predator is a psychopath, like, and it's not long before another team of predators comes to hunt him. But Craven the Hunter is also hunting him. But Spider-Man is also trying to figure out what's going on, and he's been hunted by the police because they think Peter Parker might be the murderer, and it's just
MJ is in the
class.
middle of all that as well.
MJ's in the middle of the whole thing. It's yeah, it's very, very cool. Just it gives me that Predator 2 vibe.
Yeah, so
Um,
it finished up, and then this week kicked off was Predator Kills the Marvel Universe. So
yes, that's
they're
right.
they're continuing to utilize these licenses in really fun ways, and they're putting big creators on it. I mean, Benjamin Percy through that stuff, as you said, Hickman through Aliens Avengers as
Mm.
well. It hasn't
And
quite hit trade yet, but it's due soon.
there's a through line as well. So Predator versus Black Panther, I think, is coming home to roost as well. That particular Predator who got a hold of vibranium, and during that show. So I think these things are all coming together, maybe in that Predator versus Marvel Universe or Kills the Marvel Universe, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, they weren't Marvel obviously doing an awful lot of its 5 issue miniseries and that sort of thing as well. I
Almost
mean,
their preferred format at the moment, isn't it?
yeah, which I don't mind whenever it is something like Predator versus Spider-Man. That doesn't need an ongoing, but I love an ongoing. And but yeah, they definitely are leaning into these, especially with the retro stuff.
Yeah.
And one of those saw Chris Claremont, X-Men writing legend, returning to X-Men with the Wolverine and Kitty Pryde mini, which I really enjoyed. I'm quite sure Stuart enjoyed as well. But it was really interesting during, set at the tail end of Wolverine's time in Japan, whenever he's reclaimed Kitty from, her sort of evil mentor, that sort of thing. She's trying to figure out what her life is like now as a trained samurai and a mutant. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. I really have to say I enjoyed that. While it's not my preferred format, and I would much prefer them to be doing ongoings and not restart a number one again. Yeah, that was really enjoyable.
Well, a book that I absolutely loved and actually came to a finish recently, and is an even shorter format than 5 issues, was Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. It was
Oh,
a
yeah.
3 issue series, just oversized issues, admittedly,
Yeah.
uh,
Should just
which
have called
was
it Old Man Daredevil.
I mean, why they didn't is still beyond me. I mean, we even got in new printings this week of Old Man Hawkeye,
Yeah,
and you've got
yeah.
Old Man Logan, and just call it Old Man Daredevil. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
Charles Soule, Steve McNiven, dream creative team right there
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
start. Dealing with an older Matt Murdock who had lost all his powers. You have some of the most surprising and unique ways I've seen heroes used in some time.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
the Punisher fans out there. Oof, your boy gets it rough in this book, I can tell you. But he has a final say in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
brilliant, brilliant book. Really gritty. It's clearly Charles Soule, channeling Dark Knight Returns. That sort of future set urban hell where
Yeah, yeah.
mostly gangs have taken over and heroes have sort of disappeared or have died, that kind of thing. But 3 issue book, they are going to do a lovely hardcover for that. So it's definitely one I would recommend getting. Just one of my favorite
Yeah.
books actually this year, I would
That
say.
that'll be brilliant. I mean, sticking with Marvel and DC, one that I really enjoyed, I know you've been enjoying as well, was Ram's take on Resurrection Man with Resurrection Man Quantum
But
Mania.
that book gets better
Quantum
with every
Karma, sorry.
issue.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I misspoke there, Quantum Mania, Quantum Karma. Resurrection, it made me look back at Resurrection Man and who Resurrection Man was, and there's been various versions of him. There was a pre-crisis and a post-crisis sort of version, and this, the post-crisis version of, he is the brother of Vandal Savage, who is a caveman, but yeah, Resurrection Man, anything with that sort of long-lived, immortal type character is right up my street. It plays my Highlander tune and away I go. Um, but yeah, he's really interested in that. Every time he dies, his power set whenever he resurrects is based on what killed him before, and this previous time he's been killed, he died of old age, so time killed him. So whenever he resurrects, he has time travel and control over time and reality, and he's contacted by an individual. It's to help protect against this evil that powers through time, and it's very, very, very cool, beautifully drawn. It's I can't remember the name of the artist actually. I
It's
thought,
Anand RK
yeah, absolutely. It's
on it,
just
and they had a little bit of Butch Guice in it as well.
they
Obviously,
did,
he passed away recently,
yeah,
but
rest in peace. Yeah,
he had some contributions to the book. I mean, I read issue, I think it was issue 5 the other day, which is the latest issue, and it took on a really unique setup. And it showed that if you were an immortal, you have eternal patience because it's almost like a long con of an issue.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Really, really interesting. That's another limited series. That's only 6. I mean, that's the thing. It's nice to see those sort of characters to me are what similar to what you're saying, like Predator versus Spider-Man. That's where you want a mini series because you don't know if
yeah,
you could substantiate a 50 issue run for Resurrection Man. You know what I mean? Maybe the popularity of the character's not quite there, but that doesn't mean you can't tell a brilliant short
yes,
form story
exactly,
that
100%.
then becomes almost like one of those graphic novels. I think when we talked to Kyle Starks, we talked to him about this, remember? Because he did Peacemaker Tries Hard, and
That's
he
right.
said he wanted to make the definitive book if someone wanted a Peacemaker book. They
Yeah,
don't need 50 issues, they don't need 30 issues. Here's one book, standalone story, and that's great stuff. And that's what I think Resurrection Man is. We shouldn't be too surprised. Ram is the master of, these shorter stories, but packing in a ton of content to them, whether it's
yeah,
rare flavors or Lila Star or whatever. So yeah, no, Resurrection Command. That's been a really pleasant surprise of a book this year for me.
yeah, big style, big style. The one that's been getting a wee bit of heat, in a positive way, is Spider-Man and Wolverine. Mark
Yeah,
Guggenheim and
that
Carrie
had a
Andrews.
unique end to issue 1, which it was a really good hook for why it would be Spider-Man versus Wolverine, shall we say?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. I thought it was great. It goes back into Peter's parents, as spies and all of that sort of stuff, Wolverine's history. I think Andrew sort of draws as close to a McFarlane Spider-Man as you're getting in some ways,
Hmm.
But it has been a pretty cool book. You're on that as well, obviously.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. Again, yeah, the art's a big draw for me. Carrie Andrews is someone I'm
Yeah,
a fan of.
yeah.
They definitely have that sort of early 90s feel to their Spider-Man, as you
Yep.
say, like a McFarlane or an Eric
Yeah, yeah.
Larson or that kind of thing. And I think when you team Wolverine up with someone, the book 9 times out of 10 is good. Although I draw the line
Mhm.
at Deadpool, but if you
Yeah.
stick Wolverine in with someone else, it's always
Yeah, yeah.
an interesting character relationship. So yeah, no, it's been good. I mean, speaking of Marvel as well, Marvel Knights has been making a bit of a comeback in recent times.
Yeah, the word to come.
Yeah, so it's Marvel Knights, of course, was an imprint, started over 20 odd years ago. It was predominantly sort of more adult storytelling in the Marvel universe. It's very synonymous with Punisher, for example. But yeah, the world to come, it's a couple of issues in. It certainly kicked off with quite the controversial issue 1 regarding Black Panther and
I mean,
the
this
child
is
of Black
yeah,
Panther.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, this very much this is sort of some of the original creatives of Marvel Knights, of the original Marvel Knights line. So, and one of the core books of that line was Black Panther by Christopher Priest and Joe Quesada, and so this very much is picking up from that. That's where Everett Ross came from, the
Hmm.
character who eventually appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, played by Martin Freeman.
Yes.
Yep. So Everett Ross is back in this, and it really, follows on from that. But yeah, I thought this was the first issue was a beautifully put together, book. It really was. Um, it really was fantastic. It was the way it was put together in terms of the chronology of it, because this is set in the future of the Marvel universe, the future of certainly the Marvel Knights in the Marvel universe. T'Challa's dead, so Wakanda is kind of unguarded. Its technology and its vibranium and its secrets, and so the future of the Marvel universe is going to be determined by what happens after this, and as you say, T'Challa's son and so forth. So it's really I'm really enjoying it. The first issue was great. The second issue was very very good. I think this is maybe a Black Panther book that I mean I'm enjoying Ultimate Black Panther, but I enjoyed this more.
Yeah, it could be a wee bit of a sleeper hit this one, and it seems to low key be almost starting a Marvel Knights line again because we had the announcement of Marvel Knights Punisher book coming up soon.
Which is
Uh,
set in this. It's again that's the world to
yeah,
come. Yeah.
that's what I
So
mean. So there's sort of it's almost like a backdoor way into sort of a couple of new titles there, which could be interesting. And it's nice to see, as you say, Casada and Palmiotti and Priest and so forth
yeah,
involved in
big
that.
style, big
You
style.
know, I suppose it's almost a. I mean, Marvel have been good about that in the last couple of years, whether it's those retro picks, as you say, Claremont getting to write X-Men and,
Yep.
Fabian the Kaiser getting to write some of these and stuff like that. So it's nice that they're doing that with those legacy characters or
Yeah,
those
those
legacy
legacy
creators, I should
creators.
say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that was Marvel Knights to Come. Another big relaunch, certainly for Marvel in this sort of 4 month period as well, was Captain America,
Zdarsky.
relaunching
Yeah.
from Chip Zdarsky and Valerio Schiti. Although I think
Uh-huh.
it's Skeety, I think I heard on another
Okay. All
podcast.
right. Cool. Cool.
Who is an artist who I think their work's awesome. They were really unlucky with Gods. They caught a lot of blowback when they did the Jonathan Hickman series Gods with them because they launched with a $10 number one. And a lot of people like he ended up responding to it on Twitter and stuff, which was a bad
Mm-hmm.
idea. But he basically said, like, we don't control the pricing. I can guarantee you're getting my best work here, and this
Yeah.
book is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Marvel missed a trick with Gods. They really should have split that first issue into two and made it two
Yeah.
$5
Yeah.
issues. And but
Yeah.
anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're the artists for the new Captain America run, which has brought Chip Zdarsky back to Marvel. Again, obviously, did such brilliant stuff at Marvel before, whether it was Spider-Man Life Story or it was the Daredevil run or whatever. And I have to say, the first two issues of Cap have really dragged me in. It feels like a really grown-up Captain America book, if that's a
Yeah. I
too
mean,
strange thing to say.
it's interesting. We're kind of treading. It's not treading new ground because the ground has it's treading different ground in the same way, maybe. So
Hmm.
obviously, whenever Cap was in the ice originally, he was in the ice over the 50s, and there was another man who was given the Cap shield and Cap's uniform, and the government, portrayed him and a different person as Bucky. He was the Cap of the 50s, the commie smasher Cap. And that story then came up again, even in Ed Brubaker's run, when one of the characters, the Winter Soldier assassinated, was that version of Bucky at that time. So this sort of seems to be a similar story, but I feel like we've pushed Cap's coming out of the ice back again a wee bit, haven't we? Because it seems like Cap wasn't out of the ice whenever September 11th happened in
Yeah, I
2001,
mean, the
So this
main
is this again, this is the last, Marvel's elastic timeline.
yeah, I mean the main interesting development in this one for me, and I don't know if it's been done before in comics, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I like the idea that Cap is suspicious of the Avengers, but goes straight to General Ross for direction because he's a military man.
Yeah, he's a soldier, yeah.
So that makes complete sense. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's been done before or not.
There's
It may
a
very
there's
well
a,
have.
a naivety about the modern world,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And
It's
he's
maybe not.
suspicious of these costumed heroes and all the rest because he's a military man, he's a soldier, he takes orders, he
Yep. Mm-hmm.
points in a direction of what he thinks is right and does it. And I think that's a really interesting hook to kick it off from with the first issue, and then the
Yeah, yep.
second issue I really enjoyed as well. So I think Cap's off to a very strong start. I mean, I really enjoyed the last Cap run. It was Sentinel of Liberty and Symbol of Truth from, Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, all those guys,
Yeah, yeah.
which was very, very good. But this felt like a not a fully mature version of Cap, but it
Mm.
definitely felt a
More
bit more of a
grounded. Yeah.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe that's
absolutely.
it. And clearly Chip is enjoying writing Cap. We obviously did Avengers Twilight, which was
Yeah,
very Cap
yeah,
focused as well.
absolutely. Yeah,
So clearly a
100%.
character he's got something to say with it. What else was there Marvel wise? I mean, we have the celebration of Godzilla through these past few
Yeah,
months through Marvel.
they've been great. So the Godzilla one shots, Godzilla versus Spider-Man, Godzilla versus Thor, Godzilla versus the Avengers, Godzilla versus Hulk. There was, Godzilla versus Fantastic Four. They were phenomenal, those one shots. But now we've got Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe. So we have,
It's
effectively the entire
such a fun
Marvel.
first issue.
Yeah, really what these that's what I'm enjoying. Those one shots were all really fun. They were at a level. You know, those were coming out actually. Godzilla, the one shots were coming out at the same time as JMS's versus one shots, which are now going to
Hmm
be solicited as Marvel Tales whenever they're collected. Those one shots were all great fun as well. So but yeah, so they've now moved on to Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe, and really, really enjoyed that first issue. It was really fantastic. So it was very, very good stuff.
I mean, Godzilla's the only character currently in comics that is able to be in the DC universe, the Marvel universe, and the Independent universe. It's the
Yeah.
70th anniversary of Godzilla, so you've got Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong for DC. You've got the Godzilla versus Marvel universe for Marvel, and then they've kicked off a new era through IDW Comics for Godzilla as well. So it's a good time if you're a fan of overgrown radioactive lizards.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good. Very good stuff. I mean, the one of the DC books that's really grabbing me at the minute. There's a couple actually that are worth mentioning. Uh, Robin and Batman, Jason Todd, the follow up to Robin and Batman, which was about Dick Grayson
Yeah.
uh, growing up. This Jason Todd one is same creative team, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Dustin Nguyen on art
yeah.
and Jeff Lemire
Jeff
writing.
Lemire. Very, very good. Just a wee bit darker than the Dick Grayson one, as you might expect, given the character. A troubled character from the start. The unsurety of Bruce in terms of raising him. Yeah, very, very, very good stuff. Brilliant looking as well. So thoroughly enjoying that,
I
as I'm
hope
sure
that's the
you
start
are.
of a series. Like they haven't announced anything further there, but yeah, I love those books. They're three issue mini series, but again, oversized issues, square bound. But it'd be great if they then followed it up. I can't believe I'm about to say these words, but if they'll followed it up with Robin and Batman, Tim Drake, and then they
Yep.
followed it up with say Robin and Batman, you know, do Damian Wayne, do whatever. It would be an
Yep.
interesting look at always looking at the early days of those Robins and the
Yeah.
different situations
Yeah.
they became Robin
As long as
within.
there's a story to tell,
Oh no, absolutely.
for
You don't
sure.
want to just
Yeah.
be a. I mean, I don't
You
know if
know.
it's the biggest selling title in the world, so I don't know if Cash Grab would be the right
Yeah. Yeah.
idea. But it's just interesting because
Solid. Yeah.
we've spoken about this before, certainly with Dick Grayson. You don't really see Dick Grayson Robin stories anymore because Nightwing is such a great established character. So
hmm
this is a good way of going back to those early days of all the different Robins.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Which
and speaking of a story to tell, the other DC book that has really been grabbing me, a couple issues in, is the new history of the DC universe by a
the
gentleman I've already mentioned tonight, by Mark
encyclopedic.
Waid.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. I've noticed as well that Marvel have been advertising an Idiot's Guide to Spider-Man and an Idiot's Guide to Fantastic Four. That sort of
mm,
those sorts of books. But yeah, this is great. I love a definitive telling of a history of a timeline.
mm.
Superman didn't even appear in the first, until the very end of the first issue. They're lovely, chunky books. There's a lot of text in them. They're fully referenced at the back. This is where this happened. This is where this happened. The the bookend is that Barry Allen is writing the definitive history of the DC universe,
Yeah.
and it's very, very cool.
And they're
Um,
being divided into like golden age, silver
yeah,
age, modern
yeah,
age, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah. So
But yeah, if there's someone you want to try and condense all those timelines, because we spoke about it before, Marvel was always designed to be one universe. DC was not. DC was all
yeah,
separate entities and separate settings and this and that. So, Crisis did a lot to bring it all together, but it's still a very convoluted timeline.
yeah, yeah. And
So
once it, yeah, and we've hit crisis on the original Crisis Multiple Earths.
mhm,
Uh, you know,
Infinite.
at the end, Infinite Earths, and he talks about Supergirl dying and how they lost Supergirl, and then he's like, as I say, it's Barry Allen, right? And then he goes, and as for me, at the end of the crisis, I died. And you're like, what? So
Unreliable narrator for the
yeah,
win.
yeah, absolutely. So
I
yeah,
mean,
pretty
the other thing
cool.
certainly worth checking in on when it comes to DC is the Absolute line and how it's been
Yes.
doing over those months. I mean, Absolute Martian Manhunter's been going strength to strength, I think. Just a really beautiful book, really interesting ideas. It's going to be a six-issue series and then a break, and then they're coming back and doing another six issues.
Yep.
So I think it's been awesome. Absolute Flash is it's enjoyable enough. I don't think either Absolute Flash or Absolute Green Lantern for me anyway are at the level of the other books. I think there's interesting stuff in them. There's more than enough to keep me engaged
Yeah.
and to stay on them. I know one or two of yours have fallen by the
Yeah,
wayside with it.
I dropped Flash. It just wasn't. I love Flash as a character. This just, and I especially love Wally West, but this just hasn't been doing it for me. Green Lantern definitely has enough to keep me interested.
Green
Uh,
Lantern is a slow burner, which is not
yeah, yeah.
surprising given that it's Al Ewing.
Hmm.
Certainly with issue five that I think came out in July. I want to say end of
Mm,
July. It definitely upped the ante for me. I think it
yeah,
was the first issue where I was sort of like I can start to see where it's going.
yeah,
Absolute Batman in this time, I have to say, it's back to the top. Issue
yeah.
10 of it, the storytelling choices in it, because the thing is, when
Issue
Absolute
10
Batman,
was the
so
Bruce being
issue
captured.
10's, for lack of a better term, it's like experiments on Bruce.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, it was very good. Yeah,
I
yeah,
just think the storytelling choices are really bold because when you introduce such a big, bulky, resourceful character like Absolute Batman is, you think everything he does is really easy. Like, who's going to be able to take him down? And then obviously they introduce this bigger version of Bane. And then what they're doing to try and break Bruce down is it reminds me a wee bit, which is maybe not too surprising, it's the same writer. It reminds me a wee bit of like the Court of Owls when
yeah,
they were
yeah.
trying to break down Batman. And issue 10, I just thought some of the storytelling choices and some of the stuff they were doing to Bruce was really borderline. I was like that, and that's what these books should be. They shouldn't be like mainline canon. They should be able prepared to take risks. Superman does it every issue. It still has the core of the Superman character, but they definitely play fast and loose with some other stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, the
I love
absolute books.
that issue of Absolute Superman where he ends up, pulling the kryptonite bullet out of himself with
Mhm.
his X-ray vision or whatever it was. It was or his heat vision. I was like, oh, cool, So
Yeah, so all
very
those
cool.
books have been, and those books are only going from strength to strength. When I talk about it from a store perspective, I mean, we got an email from DC the other day that the first seven issues of all the Absolute books are going back to print. So Absolute Batman #1 is going to like its eighth print, Superman to its seventh print, and they're reprinting issue one, two, three, four, five, five of the second wave, but the first seven of the first wave. And if anybody's listening to this pod and comes to the store and is not on Absolute Batman, if you can please come in and sign up for it. We have 97 people on it. I want triple digis. The other Absolute books have like 60 plus on it. They're still very, very popular. Just not quite at the level of Batman. Maybe it was just the
Yeah,
accessibility
cool.
of it or Snyder on it, or I don't know. But those books have invigorated DC massively, I think.
Yeah.
And the fact they've announced one shot, which is Absolute Evil, and they've announced next year Green Arrow, which is a limited series. So they're not diluting the quality of it by putting out 15 titles,
Mm.
which is good to see. And a
Yeah.
strangely common sense move from a comic company.
Yeah, imagine well, that be the case. Let's knock off the last of our Marvel and DC type, our big two choices, and get into the real meat of what I think is comics at the minute, and that's the indie stuff. So, I mean, I think you know there's a lot of events going on at the minute. We have One World Under Doom, which I look forward to every issue, but it just seems to be chugging along a wee bit. Do you know what I mean? There seems to be
Yeah,
big breaks between the issues. It
there
doesn't
was a big break, I
have,
think, before issue 5 or 6. I
yeah,
think they even
yeah,
came out and said it was going to be an unplanned break.
yeah.
They
So,
just don't all seem very connected. Maybe it's
mm,
across too many titles,
it's well,
maybe.
even the core book, that it seems to have lost momentum a wee bit. and we also then have Imperial going on.
Hmm.
Jonathan Hickman. That's
Iban Quello, isn't it?
Ivan Coelho and Federico Vincentini.
Vincentini. Yeah.
Yeah, Iban Coelho's doing the covers. Now it's a wee bit removed. It's in the cosmic side of the Marvel, the space side of Marvel, and it's doing some cool stuff there. We've got the various factions, the Skrulls and the Kree and the Shi'ar and the Star-Lord's people and the uh, Wakandans, all the machinations going on there, and some very cool characters in there as well. I think we're going to see some love for Nova and that. So really, really enjoyable. And then we've also had Edge of Revelation announced as well, which is just come. So that's a lot of events all at one time, But
Hmm.
there's always some standouts. There's always some standouts, when it comes to tie-ins. And we had Thunderbolts Doomstrike, which was one of the tie-ins for One World Under Doom, and that was Bucky and his version of the Thunderbolts. And then recently they kicked off New Avengers, which came off the back of that, and it's not entirely dissimilar, and obviously it leans into the Thunderbolts slash New Avengers sort of thing from the movie, but it is absolutely fantastic. First couple of issues of it have been brilliant. Bucky, Black Widow, Laura Kinney's in there as Wolverine. Submariner's in there, obviously an old buddy of Bucky's, and yeah, just a really really enjoyable book. The first couple of issues have been fantastic of New Avengers, and then to talk about Imperial, first couple of issues have been great. There's a few one shots around it, every month that are co-written by Jonathan Hickman. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. The space side of Marvel isn't usually my niche, but
Hmm.
I mean, I'll follow Hickman and yeah, really really enjoying that book as well. And on the Ultimate side, we had a wee mini series kick off, didn't we?
Yeah, it's Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion kicked off, which is, very much the Miles Morales Ultimate Universe book, for lack of a better term. Obviously, Miles originally came from the Ultimate Universe, ended up in 616, and then,
Hmm.
and is now sort of coming back into the Ultimate Universe as he fell through a portal trying to catch his niece, I want to say.
No, his sister,
Sister.
Billy. So I mean, I suppose the other thing is that the Maker, who is the big bad of this Ultimate Universe, was the Reed Richards of the original Ultimate Universe. And these are the only two characters left from that Ultimate Universe.
And
Uh,
Miles is one of the few people that, the Maker is actually kind to because
yeah,
they
they've
obviously
come from the
share a
same
history.
place. So the Maker did come to Miles and say, "Listen, I'm doing this thing. I'm starting this new universe. Do you want to come with me?" And Miles was like, "Nah, don't think so, mate." And but he left him a route to that universe, and then Miles's sister Billy, his infant sister, as kids will do, found the thing and ended up going through the portal and
As kids
uh,
will do, jump through portals.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. And yeah, so Miles followed her, and here we are. As he he's hooked up with Ant-Man and Wasp of this universe and Black Panthers, and so he's having a whistle stop tour of the new Ultimate Universe, really. So it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, this week's issue was pretty good to get a little bit ahead, but it's issue three, and it actually links to another of the Ultimate books, which is nice to see. The Ultimate stuff in general, yeah, is really interesting. It's kept its quality level up. We are obviously coming towards what's called Ultimate Endgame, which is going to be sort of the end of these runs.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
personally think it'll just be used as a launch pad for a rake of number ones,
yeah,
a rake of
absolutely.
new creative teams. I think you'll see Hickman step away from Ultimate Spider-Man, for example. I think you'll see Peach Momoko step away from X-Men. So I think there will be a bit of a relaunch for the Ultimate Universe
I
again.
think
It's
so. Yeah, I
it's
think so.
something that is very popular within Marvel, so I don't really see them just ending it and going,
Mm.
that's all you're getting for now. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But yeah, all the Ultimate stuff's been great. I have to say.
And that concludes our look at Marvel and DC from April to July 2025. Tune in very, very soon for our look at what's happening in the indie space.